There's 3 things we need to do before we get started with stitching. The first one is learning how to use your embroidery hoop. So just loosen it at the top and then you'll be able to pop out the inner ring of the hoop. Take your fabric and position it in the middle of the hoop. Now it's really important for embroidery that your fabric is super tight in the hoop. So what I normally do is tighten the hoop a little bit and then pull the fabric and then just keep doing that until I'm happy with how tight the fabric is. Now that you've got your hoop set up, you're ready to transfer the pattern. So bring up the PDF on your laptop, turn up the brightness, and then you'll be able to rest the hoop and the fabric up against your screen. After that, you'll be able to trace the pattern. If you prefer the old-fashioned way, you can print out the patterns, tape them to a glass door or window, and trace the patterns from there. When you've transferred your pattern, flip it over, undo the hoop, and take out your fabric so that you can flip it back up to the top side to make it easier to embroider. Last but not least, we've got threading the needle. So to start with, I recommend cutting a piece of embroidery thread about the length of your elbow. Embroidery thread is actually made up of 6 individual strands. For today's practice, I recommend splitting it in half and we'll use 3 strands. To make threading the needle easier, use a bit of water or saliva just to wet the ends of the thread. So how I thread the needle is that holding the thread in my left hand, I'm keeping control and pulling that with the rest of my fingers, so that when I'm threading that needle, I'm only pushing a tiny amount of thread into the needle. Now, threading the needle is often one of the most difficult parts of getting started in embroidery, so once you've got this down pat, you are on the home run. Last of all, to keep the thread anchored in the fabric, we're going to make a small knot. So you can do this any way you like. So I do it by making a loop with my fingers and bringing up the thread in the middle of the loop. I definitely recommend doing this twice to make sure that your thread stays on the back of the fabric.